This is the very first costume that I ever made to wear to a convention. I ended up wearing it to, I think, maybe 5 or 6 conventions, and I really loved this costume. This is one of my favorite costumes. But as you can probably see, it didn't really stand up to the abuse of a convention too well. The seams are coming apart and it's frayed in a lot of places. So in this vlog, I wanted to talk about taking care of your costumes. So during my big move, I came across a boot box, like a shoe box, and I didn't really know what was in it. And so I opened it up, and it had my very first costume in it. It had a Renoa costume that I made. And so I started looking at it, and I started sort of examining the stitches. You know how some artists will sometimes look at their old work and they get really hypercritical of it. That was kind of what I was doing. And I started noticing how things were coming apart. There were rips in places that had never gotten taken care of. So in this cosplay vlog, I wanted to talk about 4 things that you can do to help preserve your costume. For the most part, I'm going to be talking about broad strokes and generalizations and such. I'm not really going to get too terribly specific. This is mostly just a helpful tips video. And the first thing that you really should be doing with your costumes is take pictures. Take lots and lots of pictures. Take pictures of the various stages of the costume being made. Take pictures while you're at a convention. And also take some time, take like a weekend or something, and find a really clean corner of your house, or go outside and stand next to a tree or something and take a full head to toe picture of you in your costume. It seems a little silly to say that nowadays, since all of the smartphones out there have really awesome cameras on them. But when I started out cosplaying, there were a lot of costumes that really only lasted 1 or 2 days, actually. And I don't really have photos of those costumes. And so I'm kind of stuck with the memory of the experience that I had while wearing that costume and the sort of tattered remains of what that costume was supposed to be. It also helps in case you figure out a new technique that you didn't necessarily know before. If you take pictures of your process while you're making the costume and then you really like the way something turns out, you can go, well, how did I do this? And so you can go back in your pictures and you can figure out, okay, I did this and then this happened, and because of that I had to do this, and that sort of thing. So documenting your costume is really the best thing that you can do. The next 2 things are really things that you should do after you wear the costume, and that is cleaning and repair. A lot of times you'll make a costume and you're really proud of that costume. And so you're gonna want to wear that costume all throughout the convention that you go to. First of all, don't do that. Because really, you're going to be walking around and bumping into people and sweating into this costume, and you're really not going to smell good after the first day. And if you continually sweat in the costume and not do anything with it, you run the risk of staining it really bad or not noticing a rip and letting it get worse. So what you need to do is, when you get done wearing your costume, hang it up, let it air out. There's a video that I made a few months ago, and that shows a really great way to help keep your costume from smelling really bad. And if you really do intend to wear your costume for the entire convention, there are some measures that you can take. There are there are these little circular pads full of soft stuff. It's like a small pillow, and I've always called them pit pads, and that's what I've always heard them called, but they line the inside of your garment, and basically you can buy like very small snaps, and you just snap them into the sides of your costume, and that can help prevent, horrible pit staining that you're going to get, because inevitably you're going to go to your convention that is in July wearing a 5-layered wool costume, because, that's just what cosplayers do sometimes. A lot of times you'll be walking around a convention and someone will just accidentally bump into you and pull something off your costume. They don't mean to. It's really crowded and you're wearing an elaborate costume. So you always need to carry like a very small sewing kit with like scissors, maybe some extra buttons if you have very specialized buttons, things like that. And those really need to be addressed pretty soon after you notice them, because they can really get worse if you don't pay attention to them. A popped seam or a rip in the fabric is kind of like getting a bruise or a cut on your body. If you don't take care of it, it can get worse. That was a really nerdy way of saying that. And I'm suddenly reminded of the Goku uniforms from like Kill la Kill. Now I have to go watch Kill la Kill. Okay, fourth and final thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to go watch Kill la Kill. And that's storing your costume. When you get home and you've cleaned and you've repaired your costume, the biggest thing that you can do, probably the most important thing, is to store your costume properly. Don't just throw it in a box. A great way to store your costume is to put it in a garment bag. Garment bags are really inexpensive, and they're a great way of keeping all of your costume pieces in one place. Say you have a coat, and the coat has a lot of things that snap onto it or drape across it or something like that. One thing you could do is you can put your coat on a clothes hanger and put it in the closet, and then take all of the little bric-a-brac, put it in a bag, and then put that in a drawer. Except now you've got your costume in 2 different places, and that's how stuff gets lost. But if you have a garment bag, then you just put the coat in the garment bag, and then you put all of the little stuff in the corners. Or sew some pockets into a garment bag. I've done that a few times, where there'll be a piece of jewelry or a specific type of ribbon that I made or a hair accessory or something that goes to a costume. Take some extra fabric that's left over from the costume that you just made and just make a little square and sew it into the back of the garment bag. Then everything is in one place. But anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble for yet another cosplay vlog. I hope that some of the stuff I talked about helped. Also, send me some pictures of your costumes. I'd love to put up little fan costume bits. I think that would be fun. But anyway, thank you so much. Click the like button so I know that you like it. Click the subscribe button and let me know what you thought down in the comment section. Bye! I'm gonna go watch Kill la Kill.